Hey, welcome back to the Vikings Playbook podcast. I'm your host, Steve Hoykla. Your Sunday starts here with Vikings Playbook. Got another great show lined up for you today. And I want to go ahead and thank one of my sponsors and play that ad first for them. And that's no other than Vikings Playbook is brought to you by our podcast sponsor, That's Badass Wood Art. Go to their website and use code PLAYBOOK to receive 10% off on any products on their website. That's pretty badass. Great sponsor there. They have great artwork there too. Make sure that you go ahead and check them out. Excited about our new sponsor that we had come on with us as well too, and that's Sports Legends USA. The Vikings Playbook podcast is brought to you by sportslegendsusa.com. Check out their website for all of your Minnesota Vikings legends, upcoming appearances, and signings. And remember to use code PLAYBOOK for 15% off in their shop for your favorite merchandise. Sports Legends USA, connecting sports legends with fans, one legacy at a time. Guys, if you have questions or comments, as always, if you're not already following us on X, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, make sure you're doing so. In order for me to see your live comments, please make sure that you're following us on YouTube. And that way I can see you guys. I see Thuckle Deer on there, Two-Tone. Hey, we got D Woods in the house too. Thanks for joining us. And guys, we're getting close. We're about 60 subs away for that Jordan Addison autographed jersey giveaway. So please make sure that you're spreading the word. Make sure you're going out and subscribing if you're not already, for a chance to win not only this jersey, but other opportunities to win jerseys all season long with us at Vikings Playbook. So please make sure that you're doing that. And as well as the Vikings NFL season, it's going to be fantasy football season. So my other podcast and a website I run, Fantasy 15, Fantasy Football, our podcasts are going to be coming up on Wednesdays, and we're going to have that 2026 cheat sheet out for you for all you fantasy footballers. Even got an exciting new league with some of the social media types that you may know that are going to be featured in our fantasy football league that will be on the live show as well too. So that's all exciting. Go ahead and check out the website. Check out Fan Chat, where you can interact with other fantasy league managers and ourselves and ask us questions all throughout the year. That's fantasy15football.com. All right, guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and jump into our very first topic that we have. And like I said, if you have questions or comments on any of these, go ahead, throw them in the comments on YouTube. That way I can see them, bring them up on the screen, and answer your questions. If I got somebody on there that wants to come on with me tonight, you got a working mic, you want to come talk Vikings, please hit me up. I'll send you a link. You can come on, talk some Vikings with me. So please make sure that you're doing that. And the very first topic I want to talk about tonight is, we had KOC. He ended up going on the Dan Patrick show, and let me just switch that. There we go. He went on to the Dan Patrick show, and when he was with Dan Patrick, one of the questions, in the hot topics that's going to be all training camp is going to be the quarterback competition, right? So he asks, is it truly an open competition? So KOC, I think he kind of like sidestepped the question because, and even Paul Allen talked about this on his radio broadcast on KFAN as well too. And he tried saying he's not aware of any closed competitions. Well, Paul Allen went on to talk about this on KFAN, that there is closed quarterback competitions out there, for established quarterbacks, and he went on to talk about, for instance, if Patrick Mahomes was healthy in Kansas City, that's a closed quarterback competition. That's not open for anybody to go ahead and compete with Patrick Mahomes. That's a locked quarterback competition. With the Ravens, with Lamar Jackson, that's a closed quarterback competition. So he kind of sidestepped the question, I thought. He talked about some good things about, Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy and even Carson Wentz as a part of that interview with Dan Patrick. So, I think he's definitely not trying to give any clues or hints as far as, hey, I'm not leaning towards anyone going into training camp. So we're definitely going to see these guys going at it at least in that first week of training camp, to where it's going to be a heated competition for the first week, where that's going to be a talker. And every day there's going to be an evaluation on how JJ McCarthy threw, on how Kyler Murray threw, or what big plays that they made or mistakes that they made. So it's definitely going to be put under a microscope for these guys during especially this first week of training camp. So very exciting stuff. But again, KOC, he goes on Dan Patrick. He was in the golf tournament here this weekend as well too. But so you're not gonna get anything really from KOC, I don't think, leading up to training camp on the quarterback competition. He's gonna keep with the company line, if you will, as far as it's an open competition, and I want these guys to be able to come into practice and push each other. Was the message that he had. So you're definitely going to see a lot of people put a spotlight on this quarterback competition. And if you didn't catch it last week, so my last two shows have been on Tuesdays. So if you didn't catch it, I did have former Vikings quarterback Kyle Sloter on the show with me, and he talked about, and he was actually a teammate briefly in Arizona with Kyler Murray. So he was in that quarterback room with him and in training camp. And, Kyle Sloter talked about, both what he saw from JJ McCarthy last year and a little bit with, what he thought about the quarterback competition between Kyler and JJ, and how long it would go and who he thought was going to come out with it. And so I just want to play you some of that. If you missed it last Tuesday, go ahead and check it out. All right. So the next topic I want to talk. So I did. Oh, I need to add this on. There we go. I guess now that you say it, because you did spend some time with the Cardinals, you do have some familiarity with Kyler Murray.
Yeah,
So obviously this quarterback competition is going to be, the probably the biggest quarterback competition that we've had in a long, long time
for
here
sure.
in Minnesota. So obviously that's the big thing that everyone wants to talk about. It's gonna make everyone's ears bleed by the end of at least middle of training camp, where I expect after the first week or two we might have a decision made, because at some point you got to decide which one of these guys is going to start to get all of the first team reps, or the
For
majority
sure.
of them, to make sure that they're ready for the regular seasons.
Yeah, I think in terms of learning an offense, um, every offense is a little bit different. There's some nuances. So Kevin O'Connell, I'm not familiar with Jonathan Gannon and what Kyler Murray went through there. Kevin O'Connell comes from a coaching tree that is very popular in terms of offense. So I bounced around to like three or four different teams that all ran the same style of offense. And so for me, it was relatively easy to go in there and pick up what they were doing. Um, I don't know that Kyler has had exposure to it, but once you get it, you kind of understand where like the bones are buried on any given play. And that's really what that's what you're looking for. You're trying to understand that, hey, I want to on any given play, I know I'm going to get really five different types of coverages. I'm going to get cover one, two, three, or four, or pressure. And then in any of those scenarios and situations, where is the answer? And so as he continues to get more familiar with that, I think he's also going to be hit, which is kind of exciting. I think Kyler is going to be hit for the first time with like, and again, I'm speculating with the Jonathan Gannon stuff here, but he's going to be hit with like real football knowledge that is how all these other quarterbacks have operated for a long time. Because I know with Cliff Kingsbury, when I was there with him, it was very like, and I think Cliff has kind of adapted a little bit to the NFL with Jaden Daniels. I think it's a little bit different. I'm a huge Cliff Kingsbury guy, but his offense was very rudimentary and very like simplistic, and it's just like all these hand signals, and you can't communicate, operate that way effectively in the NFL. I think it worked at times for Kyler because his legs and his ability to get himself out of situations. But I don't think it's a way to live. And I think for the first time, once he gets this offense, he's going to be operating as a real NFL quarterback with a real understanding of the game. Um, I would say that I think you're spot on. I think you're probably going to figure out who the starter is. Maybe you give it one preseason game. But you're right. At a certain point, everybody has to start understanding, hey, who's the leader of this team? Um, I am. I tend to lean towards. I think the veteran. I think Kyler is going to probably win the job for a number of reasons. I think his athletic ability is something, and JJ's a good athlete. I don't think he's quite Kyler Murray. Um, I think Kyler's athletic ability. Kyler has a much better. He's a much better thrower of the football than a lot of people give him credit for. I always say that he was one of the best pure throwers of a football. He spins it really well. I think accuracy wise, he's more times than not very accurate. When you talk about the interceptions, I think those come from, do I fully understand the playbook and am I processing the information quickly, or am I still thinking about every single step and every single thing that I'm doing currently? And which
I
I
think
think
we
that's
saw that from JJ McCarthy last year.
oh yeah, oh my gosh, yes. I mean, 100%. And that's the thing that's what this battle is going to be about, who processes information faster, because it's not, as a quarterback, the most important thing you can do, and this is a cognitive ability that's a lot of people are born with, that you really can't just train, is how do I see the information, interpret what I'm seeing, and then my brain makes my body move. And we're talking about milliseconds that lead to half a second, that lead to a completion or an interception. And some guys can process information very quickly and some guys can't. And so it is a physical gift as much as people want to make it a mental one. Which I mean, I guess you could say either way. The more I think about it, but like it's a JJ did not process information quickly, and he also was put in a position at Michigan where he really didn't have to.
Right.
When you're in run first and then play action, the reason quarterbacks love play action is because I have A to B in terms of progression. I'm looking from 1 to 2 to my check down. When you're in a full field progression and you put JJ in, hey, it's 3rd and 7, and we have 4 guys out on a route and a check down, I think that's where you really saw him struggle, because it's like, okay, now I have to really dissect the defense and then go somewhere with an answer. Um, I think to end the question, I think Kyler Murray ends up winning it. I think he has to, in terms of ability. And then they also, from an organization standpoint, this is where like a lot of people don't really, it's not always best player plays. A lot of the times there's decisions made so that people don't look stupid. And if you put JJ
Right.
McCarthy out there, confidence is waning and he doesn't take a step forward, then you just wasted a number 11 pick, and GMs get fired for that. You have to hit on those picks. And so what I anticipate is, let Kyler go out there, do his thing. If he plays great, great. If he doesn't, still kind of great, because then now I can put the hopeful future of my franchise out there without any hit on his confidence, because like, as a backup quarterback for a while, there's nothing better than coming into the game, like, not that you want your teammate to fail, but like when I'm watching the starter not do well and then it's my turn to go in there, I'm like, it's a green light. Like, there's no pressure on me whatsoever. He couldn't do it, so like nobody's expecting me to be able to do it, and then I do it. And I look, so like that's kind of the
Yep.
mindset that I would say.
So that was Kyle Sloter, who was on the Vikings Playbook podcast last Tuesday, and that's him talking about the quarterback competition. And to me, in listening that, I think I'm on the same page with Kyle, as he alluded, where I don't think that this quarterback competition is going to go, definitely not past. I think a decision will for sure be made after that first preseason game, if not before it. Um, in that first week or two, I think a decision's got to be made, like you heard Kyle talk about. And if you listened to last week, there's got to be a leader in that locker room, and there's got to be an established guy that's taking the majority of those snaps at some point, to where you're starting to build that playbook around that guy, whoever that is. So absolutely, I think there's going to be a starter named early on in this. I don't think that KOC is going to let it drag on past the preseason game. So after that, going in, it'll be exciting to watch. I already have my preseason or my training camp tickets locked in. So uh, thanks to my wife for allowing me to go. So I'll be there. You'll see some videos from training camp from me, potentially some interviews. We'll see. I got I'll probably be bringing my son with me too, so we'll see what that allows me to do. But it's going to be exciting going to Vikings training camp, seeing some of these guys on the field, seeing some of the camp battles that I want to see, to include the quarterback competition. All exciting stuff. All right, got some comments in here. Two Tone, I think he's talking about Kyle Sloter. Sounds a little envious to me of JJ McCarthy. I mean, I don't know about that. I don't know if he's envious. He's probably envious for the fact that he got to play in some of these games, and he's got a chance to start. Yeah, I think any quarterback looking to start in the NFL absolutely wants that opportunity for sure. Um, NAFO Mythic Plague says, I hope Kyler wins this. He has played with top tier talent before, D Hop and Larry Fitzgerald, Zach Ertz, and others. But Kyler has more upside right now. I he's played with some talent, but I don't think he hasn't played with all of that talent all at the same time, to where it's gelled to where he's had, I don't think, the type of offense that he's in right now, the type of coaching situation that he's in right now, to where I think he's got the not only the best opportunities to succeed. He's healthy coming into the season, and he's playing for a contract, so you're going to get his best from Kyler Murray. But the other thing I would just say is I just don't think that, you know, he's ever been pushed like this, uh, challenged like this, to where he's not just the guy. So he's being pushed, he's being challenged, he's being, I think, better coached, facing a better defense and a defensive scheme in Brian Flores every day in practice that should make you better. Iron sharpening iron. Uh, yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard for JJ McCarthy to beat out Kyler Murray, or to at least get the opportunity to be the week one starter. In that sense, yeah, it's going to be really, really tough. But I do think that there's an opportunity for JJ McCarthy to really show that I can be the starter. Not saying that he will get that week one, but I think, there's definitely an opportunity and a passion in him to be able to say, I'm not just going to let this guy come in and take my job and fight for it. But ultimately, I think Kyler's going to be that week one starter. But I hope to see that fire from JJ McCarthy. Maybe see some of that development, and, depending on what that looks like for the Vikings, we don't know if Kyler's going to be here in 27. I don't think that Kyler will finish the season entirely healthy. I hope he does, but I'm just saying, like, hey, maybe he gets nicked up at some point for a few plays, and uh, has to come out for a few plays because he took a hard hit because he runs a little bit, right? So I do think that there's going to be opportunities throughout the season, and I hope it's because we're up by a lot of points, and those are the opportunities that JJ McCarthy gets. But Kyler Murray has not finished a full season in 4 of his last 5 seasons. So there is that. So I think JJ McCarthy has to be ready. Carson Wentz has to be ready, because both of these guys have been injury-prone quarterbacks, to include Carson Wentz. So it's great to have that depth, for sure. Yeah, Mythic's talking some more. He won his first game against the Bears, had no tape on the kid. Yeah, he didn't play well for 3 quarters. I think he showed growth, though, later on in the season in weeks 14 through 16. There is that to where growth and continuing to work on it. He wasn't injured all this offseason. He was working with John Beck. Sounds like he's made some improvements to layering in the ball a little bit better, his mechanics. So we'll see, and what that looks like, not only in training camp, but also in the preseason as well too. Norris says we'll see. Don't see it working. I think Norris is maybe talking about Kyler in that sense that he doesn't see it working with Kyler. I think that's what you're talking about. Um, Two-tone awesome. I bet they were cheap. You're correct in that because I ended up, I want to get the uh, covered area, especially with my son. Yeah, it's crazy hot out right now for sure. Mythic says, nor did he have a great offensive line or defense that could win games. Yeah, I think he has that with the Vikings. Now, I don't. I do think that our defense maybe takes a step back potentially. And I'm only saying that because we don't know what we have in some positions. Is Dallas Turner ready to take that next step? Is Caleb Banks going to be healthy to provide that impact? Losing Hargrave and Allen, is Orange and Banks and Levi Rodriguez ready to take that step in that rotation and carry the load? Definitely some things that we'll have to see. Two-tone, I believe Murray, I think he means Murray there, will be the starter this year. JJ could sit and learn until or if Murray gets hurt. I agree with you, Two-tone. I think that's probably what's going to happen for sure. Mythic says all the stuff when Kyler was signed, JJ saying, I want to trade. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Kyler he's going into his 8 years of experience. Yes, JJ knows the offense better because he's played here. So Kyler's trying to learn that piece, but he has the starting experience. He's started in 87 games. That's the huge advantage. So I think that definitely levels it out and still weighs in favor of Kyler as far as who has the edge going into this training camp matchup. North saying JJ has shown huge promise, big throw situations. Bottom lines is you got to get better through repetition. I agree. Absolutely. Absolutely. My guy, SKOL, everybody. Hey, Zoe, good to see you, man. Brev's in the house as well too. Got Zoe, Brev, D Woods was in the house too. Zoe, you know what? Zoe needs to talk to Brev. You need to watch back the the School State of Mind broadcast. Brev was taking some shots, playful shots, of course. Um, but all in good fun, of course. But yeah, we missed you earlier. Yeah. And Zoe says both quarterbacks will play. Let's hope they can play. Yeah, absolutely. Because we need to see better quarterback play out of that position for sure. Brev's capping. Brev's capping. He's capping right now. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about, and make sure you check it out because I'm going to get into my Vikings purple path to 53. And if you haven't checked it out, I had a new article come out today. My editor, Brev, pushed this thing out. And go ahead and check out more Vikings News Daily. PurplePTSD.com if you want to see what I'm writing, Brev, and other great writers, Kyle Drudry, and others. Go check it out. Great Purple News Daily. The next thing that we're going to talk about, though, is going to be that 53-man roster. So I have this series now that I'm putting out on purpleptsd.com that you can check out. I've done the offensive line and now the inside defensive line. I'm going to cover that with you a little bit, and I want to get your guys' thoughts. So what I'm doing in this series is trying to project who's going to be the starters, the reserves, maybe who's on the bubble or going to be on the practice squad or cut. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. It's early for that, but these are just early projections. I'm trying to get through all of the positions before training camp starts. So let's get into it. Yeah. All right. Talking about the offensive line. Let me get rid of this banner on the bottom. That way you guys can see it. What I'm projecting is, 9 to 10 spots. And I know on the left side it says 8, but on the right I have 1 to 2 additional roster spots. For me, obviously the first 5, the starters are locked. Blake Brandel is maybe the only one that you could say, hey, possibly questionable, but I don't think that that's a questionable position. Blake's going to go in there. I think, KOC had a lot to do with the draft going in here, and by not drafting a center early like they could have in the third round or even in the fifth round and waiting until the seventh round to draft Gavin Gerhardt, I think that was absolutely an indication of confidence in Blake Brandel for sure. And primary backups, your third round tackle draft pick Caleb Tiernan, who could be kicked into guard as well too. There's talk about his arms, arm size, arm length, I should say. And then we brought in Ryan Vandermark. So we paid him. He's getting paid three mil to come in here and be a backup reserve for us, a rotational guy. So I definitely think he's going to be part of the squad. And we have Michael Juergens there. He is arguably the most experienced center that we have on this roster. And I'm saying that just because Blake Brandel hasn't played the position as much as Michael. So I think he's still there as a primary backup. I don't think Gavin Gerhardt has already overtaken him on that. He's only been here for a couple of years too, and on the bubble, those 1 to 2 additional spots, we kept 10 last year. So it's possible we keep 2, especially with all the offensive line injuries we had last year. It's possible we play it safe. We like Joe Huber. We just drafted Gavin Gerhardt, and I'm hearing positive things. Now, you could say, would we really keep 3 centers? But I don't see Gavin Gerhardt and Michael Juergens, could play, especially Gavin, could play and has played a little bit of guard. Blake Brandel's primary position is guard. So if injuries do occur, it's not absurd to think that we would keep Joe Huber and Gavin Gerhardt, especially when Tiernan and Vandermark can both play tackle. So not unheard of. But again, there's a lot of people here that are going to be on the outside looking in. You got Henry Bird, Walter Rouse, who's a fan favorite as well too, Vershawn Lee, Thomas Rimac, who could be a surprise, Tristan Lee, and Delby Lemieux. So those are who I kind of have the bubble. Let me know if you have any thoughts. Am I kind of spot on, or is there somebody that who do you think on that bubble that I have that's on the bubble that's maybe going to be part of that? Again, I think there's going to be at least 9, if not 10. So at least one of those bubble guys are going to make it. I think to me, like Joe Huber is going to be in there, and so that's what I would say. But let me know who you guys think on that bubble spot of it. Mythic says, I've really been hoping that the Vikings would have drafted offensive line and safety. I mean, there were other positions. We did draft safety in the third round. Maybe you mean safety a little bit sooner than third round with Jacoby Thomas, which definitely, could have been. I mean, we were talking about Dylan Thieneman, but we ended up going with Caleb Banks, and that, gamble, but definitely could pay off for us for sure. Good to see Bob Swede in the house. I see you in there, Bob. Appreciate that. Yeah, Northfield says Golday had mentioned that the Cincy team ran through Gerhardt. I've heard a lot of positive things about Gerhardt, and that's where I don't think it's absurd if this team keeps 10 offensive linemen on the 53. I don't think it's absurd that Gerhardt's part of that 53. So, Brev says, I think they carry Gerhardt over Juergens. Very possible, and I think it's a battle, so some of these could shift depending on how they play in training camp. Gerhardt absolutely is directly battling with Juergens, for that. He could outplay him for that. But that doesn't mean that either of them are not on this 53 yet, because both of them do have the potential where they could play guard. And I think Joe Huber is for sure going to, if we keep 10, I think Joe Huber's there. If it's not, if we only keep one of Gerhardt or Juergens and we're looking at 10, then I think it's probably between Bird, Rouse, and Rimac to myself. That's what I would say. Northfield says Rouse has to be the first one cut. All right, so not a Rouse fan there. Mythic Plague says, I like both guys. Yeah. No, I get it. It's not about being a nice guy. I'm just saying he's a fan favorite. Yep, just pointing that out. And Mythic Plague says, I think Gerhardt was just saving points. Saying points was better than gaining points. Um, I'm not sure exactly what you mean. If you want to um, expand upon that. All right. So defensive line. I talked about inside defensive line today. That article came out, and this is where I'm looking for this one. And this one's a little bit dicier because the Vikings are probably only keeping 6 on the inside defensive line. It's possible that we would keep a 7th. And that is, and when I say a 7th, I shouldn't say a 7th. So on the right, you see your possible spot due to Caleb Banks in the pup. So let's just say that Caleb Banks didn't have enough time and they want to say he's not quite healthy or up to speed yet. They could put him on the pup out that first 4 games and bring on somebody like Taki Taimani that would be a part of this 53-man roster initially. And then Caleb Banks comes in after that 4th game. That's very possible that happens. But the starters, Redmond, Banks, if he's healthy and if training camp is in preseason is enough to get him up to speed with the NFL game, because remember, he wasn't part of rookie camp, mini camp, so he missed some of that. So getting to that NFL speed, getting, even just back to playing speed from being injured, and then at the same time learning Brian Flores's defense, getting chemistry within that in the rest of the defensive line, the edges, reserves. Dominique Orange. Let's just say Caleb Banks isn't healthy. I could definitely see Orange stepping up into that spot, or even, Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins is on there, but I could see Elijah Williams possibly even being an open day starter. Both Orange and Banks. There's a learning curve as a rookie coming into this game. It's very possible, at least starting the season, that this team feels more comfortable with Elijah Williams or Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins as a starter with Levi Drake Rodriguez starting out with Redmond. And what I think happens during the season is we do see, maybe Banks become that starter if he's not day one. And Orange maybe creeps in there as well too. And that's the hope, because these guys are the future in 27 and beyond, right? Banks and Orange. Those guys were drafted to be that. Another fascinating part of this is Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins that I wrote about, with him losing as much weight as he did. Is he looking to possibly be a depth piece at edge? He looks fantastic. Seeing him next to Dallas Turner. He's a bigger guy than Dallas Turner, but man, he was looking sharp and fit. So I'm excited. He's another one where I want to watch him on the field to see where the Vikings line him up. Is he playing both inside defensive line? Is he getting reps at edge? That is definitely something that I'm going to be looking for at training camp, is to see where Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins is going to be. So I want to see if he's playing edge. So again, on the bubble, possible spot, Taki Taimani. I like the guy. I think he's a solid player. It's just we're deep at that position. You take a look at where our starters are. We invested in Orange and Banks. Rodriguez is solid. Redmond was a breakout last year, expecting him to be at that same level or even taking another step. Orange, Dawkins, it's his second year. I'm expecting him to take a step in his second year. And again, he's working hard. He's in the gym, looking good. And Elijah Williams, could this be a year where Elijah Williams takes a Jalen Redmond type step and, kind of asserts himself, as I have to be in that rotation because I'm that good. He was a preseason and training camp stud last year. So we just have to see how that kind of plays out as well too. So I don't see Elijah Williams as a bubble type player at all. And I know we brought in, and I don't have a whole lot of, takes on Eric Johnson and Loudermilk. Loudermilk, came in 2021 with the Steelers. So he's stuck with the Steelers until this year. So, he was solid enough with that defense to be able to stick with them for that amount of time. So, he's a solid player. He could be in the mix, especially if we were to keep a 7th, or if Caleb Banks is on the pup or Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, is he on a spot for an edge instead of inside defensive line on the 53? We'll have to see. But definitely out. I think, Ritzy and Vilbert, there's too much depth here for them to get there. Johnson was more of a rotational backup guy, with the Colts, but Taki Taimani, he was on the active roster, as a depth piece for us even last year. He didn't make the 53. He was right there at the cut. But he's a guy that we like yet. So, I would have to say that he's right at the top, at least going into training camp. Haven't seen anything of Eric Johnson or Loudermilk play yet. So, that's again, I'm saying that blind now at this point. Obviously, these would be revised once we get a little bit closer to the 53-day cuts. But let me know. Is there anybody on this 53? Did I get it wrong? Who do you guys think are going to be the 3 starters opening day? Is it going to be Redmond, Banks, Rodriguez? Who do you think those 3 are going to be on the inside defensive line? Is it going to be Redmond, Banks, and Rodriguez, or do I got it wrong? Let me know in chat, guys. Definitely appreciate that. All right. So, the last topic I got to talk about, guys, is going to be, and I kind of missed that image and graphic with it, but it's going to be Nolan Teasley. So, his staff moves, fire or no, basically, the moves he made. Do you like them? Are they fire or not? Or are they just so? Let's just take a look at some of the moves that he made. So a lot of people were clamoring for, hey, we need to clean house, right? We need to make some different changes. Well, he did that. Some of the firings that he made, Demetrius Washington, he was, assistant general manager. He's out. Our senior personnel executive out. Pat Roberts, assistant director of college scouting, he's gone. Sally Clavel, pro scout, he's gone. So some of the additions, the hires that we made, you had Andrew Healy that he brought in, and that people are heralding as a huge move is bringing in Healy and Kirshner. Kirshner, he has that relationship from the Seahawks, and those guys are going to be his co-assistant general manager. So those guys are kind of working as a team and helping him, directly helping him. So one of the ones that, of course, NFC North, Ryan Pace. So you guys know him as the former Chicago Bears GM. There was a lot of people hating on this move, but something we just have to keep in mind is, yes, Ryan Pace may not have been successful as a GM, but Ryan Pace did something successful before when he was with especially the Chiefs to get to a position to where he was going to be hired as a GM and was at least coveted as a GM prospect. So we have to remember that. So he was doing some things right, especially with the Chiefs organization that won some Super Bowls, guys. And then adding Capadia, assistant director of pro scouting, and Tyler Hamblin, director of football strategy. So a little bit of time to take a look at, where he's kind of made some changes as far as firings and hires. What do you guys think of Nolan Teasley's moves that he's made so far? We haven't really seen him do any personnel type moves with players yet, which I'm hoping he addresses during the season with like a contract for Jalen Redmond. There's the Brian O'Neill contract that needs to be addressed as well this year, as well as many others that are playing on a final year contract that he'll have to address either before the season ends or at the end of the season. So we'll definitely have to see. Two Tone says we'll see more in training camp and hear more about everything. Plus, we have you. I think you're talking about me going to training camp. Northvia says as far as the top 3, I think you think your starters are going to be Redmond, Orange, and Rodriguez. Definitely possible. I agree with you, Norris. That absolutely could happen if Caleb Banks is not physically healthy or schematically ready in that defense to go ahead and maybe Orange is farther along. So we'll have to see what that looks like. for sure. Michael, thanks for joining us. He says, SKOL, appreciate you joining the pod. Make sure that you become a subscriber, get in for that free Jordan Addison jersey giveaway. Please make sure that you go and check that out. Want to make sure that you guys have an opportunity to win that jersey. And then, okay, is this person honest with integrity? If they do, say I give them a shot. If not, get rid of them. I think you're talking about the personnel moves, maybe that Nolan Teasley has been making. But I think the biggest thing to take away from the Nolan Teasley hirings, you know, Two Tone says no complaints so far. He's surrounding himself with guys to help him so he can focus on, being the GM. He does a lot. He did a lot of analytical type stuff with the Seahawks, and he's trying to bring in some guys to help him that he knows that are good at it. To include Kirshner from the Seahawks, that he basically stole from the Seahawks, right? So they're losing some, two huge guys from their organization that know how to win. And he's trying to surround himself with some smart guys that can help him with some of the decision making and the analytics that he needs to make good decisions as a GM. I like that. He's not trying to do it all himself and sit in his office, closed door, and crunching numbers constantly because he's doing it all himself. So I like that he's hiring some smart guys to delegate, hey, this, because he knows what he wants them to do and the type of research and the analytics that he wants them to do. So he's going to go ahead and do that. I like that. I think we all can agree. It's never fun to watch somebody necessarily lose their job unless hey, they absolutely deserved it. But so it's always sad to see somebody that's maybe worked with the organization for a long time, get shown the door. But at the same time, you got to look at what's best for the organization moving forward. And I think Nolan Teasley has at least shown some of that. There could be more as he's here a little bit longer and able to evaluate himself after this first season. I like what he's done so far. He didn't come in and burn it down without seeing how the organization runs, but he did make some key changes that he thought is going to help him and the organization be successful. Mythic Play says, I trust the owners did the due diligence to get the team in order. And I think that they're letting Nolan Teasley do that part, and I think that's the good part of it. I think that the huge thing that people were worried about is that hey, it was going to be coaches influencing and coaches having too much power, and that Nolan Teasley was going to be kind of puppeted, if you will, or whoever the GM was. And I think we've seen very early that Nolan Teasley is going to be the guy, and he's going to report directly to the ownership. He's gonna still conversate, obviously, with those smart people, to include Rob Brzezinski. But Rob Brzezinski reports to Nolan Teasley, and I think that was an important part of this hiring and clarification that was made on early. And I'm excited to see what Nolan Teasley is going to continue to bring. With that, guys, it's a new segment, but I got to bring this on too. So, new segment, let's do it. So what is going on in the NFL around the NFC North? So this is the segment where we kind of go around the NFC North to see, hey, what's the big news that has been kind of popping up? And if you take a look at the Detroit Lions, as we know with Terrion Arnold, legal issues there to where at least the alleged incidents. You got Terrion Arnold that's on the outs. At least the Detroit Lions saw enough evidence or saw enough reports or investigation from themselves on the matter of Terrion Arnold and some of the accusations that he's facing, that they thought it was best to move on from him. And they just straight out released Terrion Arnold. So at least his agent is saying that he's getting interest from various teams. He has some upcoming visits. So we'll kind of see how that all plays out for him, not only legally or who he lands with for a team. Very, high pick, Terry and Arnold that they invested in is now in the outs. So kind of crazy, for that to happen. Um, the other thing for Green Bay Packers, we'll have to see what happens for them too. But you had, at least in Green Bay land, I want to say it was number 73, 78. Maybe it was number 78. He was in the 70s, but Jordan Love was named like the 70 something best player, and Green Bay's upset about that. You shouldn't be upset about that. You should be happy about that because, in my opinion, he's much lower than that. And when I'm talking about Jordan Love, he's had trouble lately in recent seasons, not only staying healthy but also getting them past the hump too. So I mean, you should be happy that he's that high and that you're getting talked about. But for some reason, they feel like they should have a chip on their shoulder from that. I really don't know why. Um, and then the other thing to watch for the Chicago Bears, and when we get into training camp, I want to see reports from the Chicago Bears to see what is happening with Dylan Thieneman. So he was projected to go to us, obviously, and the Bears ended up drafting him at 25. So we'll have to see how that holds up in camp and how that holds up on record that we took the gamble, if you will, and the risk with drafting Caleb Banks. And everyone thought for sure we were drafting Dylan Thieneman with the safety need that we had with the Vikings. So it'll be something to watch to see how successful Dylan Thieneman is making the transition to the NFL game from Oregon with the Bears, and they lost two of their safeties last year. So we'll have to see. You know, they were the top team in the NFL last year with takeaways, and you lost your two premier safeties last year, and you're replacing one of them with a rookie. So how quickly he can adapt to the NFL game and that speed. And one of the issues that Dylan Thieneman had was getting burnt. He's good in the box, but he had a tendency of getting burnt on plays too. So getting beat. So NFL, you're playing the best of the best. We'll see how that transition goes. But yeah, that has been what's going on in the NFL in that segment here. All right, guys. Yeah. He-Man. Norse says it's cringe. And I don't know if you're saying cringe for Terry and Arnold or my He-Man what's going on segment, but I find it funny. I have one of the Detroit players on my well, if one of them's Terry on Arnold, he probably Facebook blocked you recently because of his legal implications that he has going on right now. All right, guys. Now it's time. As you know, I need one NFL team and one college team from you. It's our time to do a free card break. And this is a one-of-one eclectic. And if you choose, let's just say you choose the Vikings and you choose a college team of Ohio State, and this is an Ohio State or Vikings player, you get this card. I'll mail it out to you. It doesn't matter if it's an autographed card, you're getting it. I do different packs, eclectics, optics. I got some absolute football I plan on breaking as well too during this show. But what I need you to do is go into YouTube chat right now in YouTube, not X. I need you to go to not Facebook, go into YouTube chat right now and enter in your NFL team and one college team. You can't choose the same team as somebody else. So go ahead and choose those teams now. I'll let you guys go ahead and drop that in, and I'll give you a few minutes before I drop this down. And one thing I want to mention, guys, is I already have my training camp tickets, and I'm planning on going. So if you are planning on going and for some reason you want to meet up, say hi at training camp, please let me know. I will be there right now. My plan is to be there on the 13th of November. So if for some reason you're going and you want to meet up and you're there that day, please hit me up on X. And I'd love to either get a picture with you or do an interview with you maybe too at camp. So please let me know. getting some different teams coming in. I see Notre Dame Titans, Bengals, and USC is off the board. Vikings and the Gophers is off the board. I'll give you a few more seconds to get some of those other names of teams in there. Mythic says I'm a glutton for punishment. Bob Swede, as always, I need one NFL team that has not already been taken and one college team that has not already been taken for the card break, for the 101 card break. Notre Dame, USC, and Gophers are gone. And for the NFL, Titans, Bengals, and Vikings are gone. Two Tone says Vikings and Hurricanes. Vikings are already off the board. Two Tone need a different NFL team. Titans, Bengals, and Vikings are off the board for the NFL teams, Two Tone. So just need a different NFL team from you. You got the Hurricanes, Bears and Hurricanes for Two Tone. Bob Swede, if you want to get into it, I need an NFL team and a college team. Again, Notre Dame, USC, Gophers, and the Hurricanes are off the board for college, and Titans, Vikings, Bengals, and Bears. USC is off the board, Bob Swede. So you got Green Bay. I'll give you the Packers, but you need a different college team. Once I get Bob, once you give me your other college team, I'm going to go ahead and switch that off for you. Switch your USC because you can't take USC. That's already taken. TJ PDX has that one. Just try not to be a homer. All right, he's got Green Bay and Boise State. All right, we're going to go ahead and do this. One final time, guys. Make sure that you're tuning in, subscribing on YouTube, Vikes Playbook on YouTube. Make sure that you're sharing this as well, too, because the quicker we get to 250, the quicker we can do our first giveaway. Which means there's more coming, guys. Our first giveaway, which will be an autographed Jordan Addison jersey. That's going to go to one of my lucky subscribers at Vikings Playbook, Vikes Playbook on YouTube. We're really close. We're about 60 followers away to get to that goal. So please make sure that you keep sharing. That way we can get there real quickly. All right, guys, time for the break. Here we go. Had two people win this so far. Turn it your guys' direction here. I see a little bit of blue there. Now, I mean, that could be orange. That could be Boise State. I mean, I'm looking at the teams, and I'm thinking that could be Boise State, or I'm thinking this could be Giants. And it is. It's Odell Beckham Jr. Giants. Odell Beckham Jr. on the Giants. On a 101 pre-production proof, Odell Beckham Jr. on the Giants. That's a cool one there. I have not seen Odell on here yet. So we don't have a winner this week. I'm going to have a different card pack next week, so it will not be an eclectic 101. So I will be looking for a specific player next week. So make sure that you join me next week when I go ahead and pull a pack of cards. Cards, plural. You'll get to pick players next week. So make sure that you join me for the Vikings Playbook podcast next Saturday, always at 9 p.m. Central Time. I want to thank everybody, all the followers and subscribers that came on today to add comments, watch the show. Definitely appreciate it. Join me every week, 9 p.m. CST, Vikings Playbook, where your Sunday starts here. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate it as always. We'll see you next week. SKOL Vikings. Take care. Everyone have a great weekend. Till next time, SKOL Vikings.